Was it frustrating? Absolutely. Was it the end of the world? Far from it. I'm Glenn Naught with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. Jets get blown out. I mean, it was bad, folks. It was bad. 32-19 to the San Francisco 49ers, and as they say, it wasn't that close. Jets scored a touchdown with 15 seconds to go to sort of add a little window dressing. And you could even argue that the touchdown earlier wasn't technically window dressing because it was early enough in the game that there was time to make something happen when Aaron Rodgers hit Allen Lazard up seam on a free play when he got the defense to jump vintage Rodgers. But the Jets were down. You know, they gave up 26 in a row or 23 in a row, whatever it was, in a game where offensively they had their moments. Rodgers looked fantastic at times, but the defense. Listen, the story of this game was that the defense was atrocious. Okay, up and down the field, San Fran moved all night long. Jordan Mason, yeah. We all know who Jordan Mason is, right? He steps in for the injured Christian McCaffrey before the game. McCaffrey's announced as inactive, surprising a lot of folks. And then you're thinking, oh, man, I like the Jets' chances to win this game, but if McCaffrey's out, we got it, right? But I said before the game, I picked the Jets to win on our show the other night. And then I came on this morning and said, I don't know what to expect. Like, sure, I'll stick with my pick, fine. But it was like, I really don't know what to expect. We saw so much ugly, sloppy football throughout the league in week one. Salad, of course, didn't play his players, and a lot of coaches don't anymore. But the fact that Aaron Rodgers, his first game, in forever, first full game in forever, which, knock on wood, that actually happened, most important thing of the night. But the fact that there was so much sloppy play around the league kind of said, this game's really unpredictable. But I said my two biggest concerns were the Jets' ability, the DTs, to play, be able to stop the run, because, you've got Quinn, you've got Kinlaw. Outside of that, you don't have a whole lot. Solomon Thomas, fine, nice enough player, some other unproven guys there. But that was my biggest concern, was the DTs being able to play up the middle. Safeties as well, covering the tight ends. Turns out they didn't have to cover tight ends because San Fran just ran it down their throat all day long. Jets had no answer for it. Jordan Mason, first career start, 28 carries for 147 yards and a touchdown. The 49ers held the ball for like 38-40, like just a shade under 40 minutes. It was absolutely ridiculous. Juicy Pick says the play calling was pathetic. There wasn't, if we're talking offense, there weren't a lot of plays to call, but I do feel, Juicy, that things got rolling when they went a little bit more up-tempo, and you figure that's when Rodgers is taking control and saying, look, we're down by enough with so little time left, I got this. And then Rodgers steps in, and we saw the offense move the ball a little bit. As I said, they moved it on the last drive. Robert Saleh met with the media after the game, as usual. Just a couple of takeaways from him. Some of it fluff coach speak. Honestly, right away he's asked about McCaffrey not playing. He says, they didn't play, but they still have a really impressive stable of backs. Like, come on, man, just save it. You lost, and your defense got their brains kicked in. Don't tell us that they have a bunch of awesome running backs behind Christian McCaffrey. Just stop. Weird moment in the game, late second quarter. Sauce Gardner started seeing the tweets come in from different beat writers. Sauce is out. He's on the sideline. Sauce is on the field. So, and it looked as if he had injured himself on an earlier play tackling Deebo Samuel. And so you assume he's hurt. I'm thinking, okay, shoulder. And then I'm thinking maybe concussion, because there's no trainers around. He's up. The camera shows him. He's up. He's walking around talking, but no one's talking to him. But he's not in the game. He doesn't have his helmet on. So I'm like, are they waiting on? Are they going to do an eval for concussion? What's going on here? A few minutes later, ESPN says, Sauce is out. We confirmed this is not a medical. All right, why isn't he on the field? Because without him on the field, San Fran, now the passing game comes to life. They start driving down the field. Saleh, and one thing we couldn't see, but was reported by Jets, by reporters who were there, Sauce's body language. He was down on knees, staring at the ground. When the half ended, he was walking off, sort of head hanging. So clearly there was an issue Salah, as expected, doesn't really address it. It just says they were trying to let Salah catch his breath. Um, Salah also said, and again, I get it. You can't come out and say they kicked their tails up and down the field and we weren't good enough today. So he kept saying they played keep away. Like they, you couldn't stop them. They were playing football and you were bad at it. They weren't playing keep away. They were playing kick your butt. That's what they were playing. Um, they couldn't do anything right on defense. Didn't force a turnover. They had a couple of sacks on paper where Purdy rolled out and slid and got touched as he went down. And it was like Sauce and another DB. I forget, maybe Ashton Davis. So we didn't see. The pressure was non-existent. At one point, with about 10 minutes left in the game, I believe they said the Jets had 2 pressures on the day. And I by my count, by my eyes, it came and Dylan Terman and I were messaging during the game, and I think he was taking his notes. And we both agreed that the 2 pressures came out the first 2 series. The first series, Quentin Williams had pressure. The second series, Javon Kinlaw had pressure. And that was it. I did see a handful. Well, I saw a few reps where it looked like Jermaine Johnson did a good job putting his man on skate to get back in the pocket. But Purdy was getting rid of the ball quickly, and that's what teams do, what that offense does when they're in rhythm and they're moving. So that's in fairness. And listen, this is not to make excuses. The Jets pass rush was not good enough today. There's no getting around it. But there, at least early on, it was that typical West Coast, like balls out, the ball is out, the ball is out, and you can't get a pressure. However, the reason you can't use that as an excuse is because when the ball didn't come right out, there was still no pressure. So it's not as if, if we just could have had him hold the ball a little longer, we would have got there. No, you weren't getting there when he wasn't holding the ball. You weren't getting there when he was holding the ball. So that didn't matter. Hassan Reddick, by the way, there was no happier man in America tonight than Hassan Reddick. Let's see, what else did Robert Saleh say? We'll be better. He's not worried. And it's hard to get in rhythm with San Francisco keeping the ball. He harped on that again. Which, again, I don't disagree. On both counts. As I've said, if they lose this game, it'll suck. Losing week 1 is kind of, to me, the next worst thing to a playoff loss. Because there's especially in a season where there's so much buildup. And I mean emotionally, not like an actual, what it means in the standings. I just mean there's no other game, minus a playoff game or a playoff type game, where there's so much buildup and there's so much time to think about it. We talk about it literally for months about this game and how the season is going to start, and then you come out and you lose. You lay an egg. You get pounded on defense. Peter said it's one game, but hard not to be deeply concerned. I'm not, Peter. Honestly, I'm not. I think, what? Actually, I was going to touch on this anyway, but like not having Leki Fotu hurt, and he said when Leki Fotu got hurt, a lot of us were like, all right, what's the move here? You got to go get another 330-pound run plugger. There are some guys in free agency. There's some options out there because without him, you don't have that guy. And then when they did nothing, you're like, all right, I guess they feel comfortable with the guys they have to go 4 weeks without that run plugger in the middle. Maybe tonight changes their mind. Maybe they take a look at the, which free agents are available and who they can bring in to be a space heater. Because they just didn't get it done tonight. Let's see. Are you guys hearing me? Somebody says I might have to reboot the cable on my mic. But I've been going for about 9 minutes, and nobody's said they can't hear me. All right, there we go. So, all right, so again, talking about Peter saying it's only one game, but they sucked. They did, but again, it's early. With all the weapons they have, they use like 3 play. Paul, that was, again, it's somewhat, but only so much, slightly attributed to the lack of opportunities. But I said this during the game. I was like, Tyler Conklin didn't see a target till the final drive when Tyrod Taylor came in for Aaron Rodgers. I'm like, where's Conklin? Get him a target. get Brees running some routes. Hit him out of the backfield because that, I know they attempted a couple times, but not near. It was like Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson. I know we love Garrett Wilson, but somebody else has to get open. And Lazard had the early drop, which you just roll your eyes and go, oh, here we go. You hope that he was going to bounce back, after the Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers coming back. But then Lazard had himself a nice game. He had the touchdown. He had 2 touchdowns. Again, one was garbage time, fine, but he was still in tight coverage. He made the catch. And then the deep ball from Rodgers for the TD. He had, last time I saw, actually, I'll take a look here. I got a box score up here. I know he was at 70 some yards last time I heard the broadcast say it. Finished with 82. 4 catches for 82 and a touchdown. Easily his best game as a Jet. Garrett Wilson, 6 for 60. Brees Hall receiving 5 for 39. Braylon Allen, 1 for 9. Let's talk about Braylon Allen for a minute, shall we? And as much as I try, and I really do, I said weeks ago that, look, new season, wipe the slate clean. Yes, Robert Saleh did a lot of things last year that bothered me as a fan. But give him an offseason, learn from his mistakes like any other coach. Give him a chance to grow, give him a chance to, self-evaluate and make changes. And this, it's not that I'm glad this happened because it was a stupid thing for the Jets to do, but it goes to my point. I've been going back and forth a little bit this week on Twitter with Jets fans who are disagreeing with me. They're saying, well, Joe Douglas's record is such and such, and if they don't win, he has to go. And my take is Joe Douglas adds the talent. The coach puts them in position to succeed. So tonight you saw a perfect example of what I mean by that. Twice this happened. The Jets had a 3rd and short late in the game, and they had a 2-point conversion attempt earlier on the Lazard touchdown. Joe Douglas, the Jets struggled in every damn way imaginable last year. But one of the many areas where they struggled was short yardage. Joe Douglas, the general manager, says, Robert Saleh, I hereby gift you a 235-pound battering ram who can move the pile in short yardage situations, who you can hand the ball off to and just let him knock guys over. Someone who's always falling forward and can knock defenders back. Here you go, Robert. So from now on, when you need a yard or two, I got you a guy who can do it. What did Robert Saleh do with this 235-pound gifted running back? He kept him on the bench, and he ran Brees Hall into the pile twice, failed both times. I mean, I don't know. Is that Joe Douglas? Tell me, is that Joe Douglas's fault? That the Jets had a 3rd and 1 and they handed it off to Brees Hall and not the battering ram that they drafted for that exact scenario? 2-point conversion, trying to get the game a little bit closer. He's got his battering ram on the bench, and he hands it off to Brees Hall, who runs into the pile and doesn't get it. That's Joe Douglas's fault? Joe Douglas gets the players. The coaches deploy them. The Jets have good players. I don't know that they have good coaches. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go on an anti-Saleh diatribe because I'm trying to be positive. But he was asked, and let's give Dan Leberfeld credit. To me, it should have been one of the first questions asked at the presser. But Dan Leberfeld of Jets Confidential did ask, and he asked politely, say, Robert, you had a 3rd and short. You had a 2-point conversion situation. Why not the rookie? Why not Braylon Allen? Robert Saleh said that's something we can look at. Apparently, they've not been looking at things for the past. When was the draft? April? Okay. I mean, we can just keep making excuses, and I guess that's what we'll do. Keep making excuses. They haven't looked at that yet. Joe Douglas, I would imagine, good thing he's bald, he'd be ripping his hair out to hear his head coach say, week 1, maybe we'll start looking at what players can do. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to keep going. Michael Carter left the game with an ankle injury, high ankle sprain he's been dealing with. So they said he could have come back in if they needed him to, but the game was out of hand, so they did not go back to him. Let's see. Ryan Dow, defense bounce back next week. They gotta. And I mean, you're playing. I mean, you saw what Locker did this week. Owner, GM, and head coach are incompetent. Period. Sal's another failed D. Listen, as far as again, I'm not calling Joe D a failure. Like the coaches just don't do a good job. And like I said, there's no better example. They've literally said, okay, we got this thing, short yardage. We need a guy who can get that. Here you go. Here's a guy. Coaches, leave him over there. We don't need that guy. What is Joe doing? It's Braylon, stay over there. Joe, we don't need that guy. We got Brees. Oh, stuffed up the middle. That's all right. We'll try it again in a few minutes. Oh, stuffed up the middle again. Yeah, maybe we'll look at that. Maybe we thanks Dan Leberfeld for that suggestion. We hadn't considered using this bulldozer on a short yardage situation. So, yeah. Let's see. My info. I'm about to say this. Been saying this. They need Rex Ryan. He's not made for big games. I say, listen, nobody loved Rex more than I did. My favorite Jets coach. How could he not be? No Jets coach in my lifetime has won more playoff games than Rex Ryan. Why wouldn't he be my favorite coach? But he was loud. I don't care. He won playoff games. Not many coaches do that for this organization. Anyway, no, Rex isn't coming back. This is Salah's team for this season. It's one game. It's one game. I'm not freaking out. I'm irritated that or alarmed that we're seeing some of the same things that we've seen in the past. Not setting guys up to succeed. Not what happened today, but the main thing, guys, they got to get this defense, the DT situation, like that's not going away. And like I said, that was my pregame take was what the hell's going to happen up the middle with these DTs, and then we saw what happened. They got bullied and pushed around a little bit. CJ Mosley left for a little bit with what looked like a wrist injury. And there were people saying that, oh, the defense is doing poorly now that Mosley's not in there. Like they were doing nothing right. Like CJ Mosley's good, but he ain't doing everything. CJ Mosley being on the field isn't going to stop the Niners offensive line from opening up Mack truck holes in the Jets defensive line. No one player was gonna get that thing turned around. So that's it. Disappointing, yeah. You would have liked to see a win, but some very winnable games coming up in the very near future. And you got to win them. That's where, because really, honestly, the next 3 or 4 games, if you lose one of those, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. Like that, no. You can lose to the Niners and live with that. These teams you got coming up, no way. Darnold played well enough. I mean, it's the Giants, I get it. But Sam Darnold played well enough Sunday that you think maybe that, because let's be honest, if you're a Jets fan, you saw Darnold throw a million picks. You thought, okay, that London game, they got that. That Darnold will throw 3 interceptions and that's an easy win. Maybe not an easy win now. But again, that's getting a little bit too far in the future. Tell you what, if I go to that game and they find the way to lose again, Jesus. I mean, those games ain't cheap. Lost to Atlanta. At least they won the first one against the Dolphins that I went to. But anyway, that'll wrap this one up. The Jets, they got to get better on defense. You have to get better on offense too. But like I said, not a ton of reps. That was a valid thing that Saleh said, when it is hard to get in a rhythm when the opposing offense has the ball for that long. Well, you know what? Don't let them have the ball that long. And you don't get to use the excuse of Christian McCaffrey and stop telling us that backups are, oh yeah, they're good too. They're good. Stop. Just, you made the guy look like an all-world running back, which is not the case. That'll wrap this one up. Bad loss. Hoping to rewatch the game tonight. We'll go live tomorrow and discuss any other, sort of observations. Ashton Davis was bad. He was really bad, by the way. Jalen Holmes, I thought, looked good at times. So some good, some bad. We'll see how it goes from here on out. Tough loss, week 1, 0-1. But some wins on the horizon. Have a good one, Jets fans.